Hi guys, welcome back to Ash Talks Basketball, and today we are doing my NBA standings predictions for this year. The opening night's tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Starting out west, I've got Denver in the first seed. I think this is an obvious pick for most people. Reigning champs, they've still got most of the core team together. I think they'll go for it again to win a championship, but they've got a stronger Phoenix team in the way, and it's going to be fun to see how that plays out this season. In the second seed, I've got Sacramento Kings. They're a fun team, they're young, and they're going to be a great regular season team. They're going to be pushing wins in the regular season. That's why I think they'll be the second seed above stronger teams like the Phoenix Suns. They will be good in the regular season, but in the playoffs, They will be good in the regular season, but in the playoffs, they need to be able to show that they're a team to beat out west. For the third seed, I've got the Los Angeles Lakers. I love what this team did in the offseason. They kept a good core while getting Christian Wood, Gabe Vincent, and a lot of other role players to go around the main core, and that's why I think they're going to be so good this season. They've got a good, strong team to manage in the regular season, getting a high seed, and they've got a great, solid team with stars and role players for the playoffs. Will they be able to push the finals this year and grab LeBron James another ring? I would love to see it happen, but they're going to go through some hard teams like Phoenix and Denver. For the fourth seed, I've got the Phoenix Suns. They're an amazing team. I love what they've done in the offseason, bringing in Bradley Beal and some role players to go around the big three. But I just don't think they're going to be using the big three as much in the regular season as they will in the playoffs. They're going to manage them so KD and Bradley Beal don't get injured as much and keep them for the playoffs. So I think they're going to be a bit lower of the seed. They're going to sacrifice their seed for a healthy team in the playoffs. In at 5, I've got the Golden State Warriors. They're going to be good this season. I like Chris Paul on their roster leading the second rotation, but I just think they haven't got any young punch to them. They've got a lot of great older players for the playoffs, but I just don't see them maintaining consistency throughout the regular season with players like Klay Thompson, Chris Paul, and Steph Curry maintaining themselves so they're healthy for the postseason. In at 6th, I've got the Memphis Grizzlies just escaping a play-in spot. They're going to be able to get into a groove after Ja Morant gets back, but that's a 25-game suspension, and I think they'll struggle during that time. Steven Adams being ruled out for the whole year is going to hit them hard, one of the great rebounding centers for them last season. I think the addition of Marcus Smart is really good for them. I just don't think he'll be enough to push them over the line to be as good as they were last season or the year before. In at the 7th seed, I've got the Dallas Mavericks. I think they'll have a better season than they did last year, missing the play-in, but I think they'll get their act together. They've still got Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, two of the best players in the league. I think they manage it and make it through the play-in, but I just think they need a better team to surround Luka. In at the 8th seed, I've got the LA Clippers. This is a great team on paper. It's just about the injuries. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been load managing the last few years, which has affected LA's seed, but I think the new rules that they've implemented can help it. I think they're still going to be a decent team, but it's just about their health for this team. In at the 9th seed, I've got the New Orleans Pelicans. They can be good if they mesh well together, even without Zion being healthy. I think this team can be good. They could be a top 5 seed if everybody's healthy, but I just predict that won't happen. I think they'll still be decent, just missing out on the top 8 spot. I think they'll struggle in the play-in and the regular season with injuries, but they're still a great team and they have potential. In at 10th, I've got the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they're going to be good this year, but I just don't think they can compete in such a strong West. I think they'll struggle, but this is a learning year for them. They've got a lot of young players that haven't experienced playoffs or good team winning in the NBA. I think this is going to be a great year of learning and a good year as a stepping stone onto a great few years for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Into the 11th seat, missing out on the play-in spot, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't see this team doing well. I think they'll struggle with the two-center lineup. I like Anthony Edwards, but he doesn't have enough around him to work. They're going to have to blow this team up if they want any chance of Anthony Edwards staying here for the rest of his career and having a good team surrounding him so he can be part of a winning franchise. In at 12, I've got the Portland Trail Blazers. I know they've traded away all their good players. Nurkic is gone, Lillard's gone, but I still think this team's going to be good. They've got a lot of young players to build around, like Malcolm Brogdon, DeAndre Ayton, and they've still got so many picks, along with young players like Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson. I see a bright future with this team, and I love how the front office handled the Dame situation. In at 13, I've got the Houston Rockets. I think they'll be better this year. They've got a good mixture of young and old, but I just think they went for it too early. They brought in good players, good role players like Freddie, Jock Landale and Dylan Brooks with all their leftover money. I think this was 1 or 2 years earlier. I think they should have tanked a little bit longer to get more draft picks, then go for it. That's why I think they'll be a bit of an inch above the tanking teams like the Spurs, and that's why I just think they're pushing for it, but I just don't think they're there yet. That's why I think they might struggle when coming back from this rebuild that they started. In at 14, I've got the Utah Jazz. I think it's a tussle between them and the Rockets who's going to take the 13th spot. But at this point, I don't think it matters. They're both below average teams with a good center for a rebuild. I think they're going to be good, fun to watch this season, but I just don't see them winning games. In at 15, I've got San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama may be good, but I just don't see them being great this year. They've got a good young core to build around. This is going to be a learning year for all of them. Another year where they can build up draft picks and good young players before they really start going at a title with Wemby and the pieces they built around him. Starting out east, I've got the Boston Celtics. I love this team. They've got a great core. Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Drew Holiday now. They're going to be a great team, regular season and postseason. I see them being good. Their only challenge is going to be Milwaukee, and I'd love to see that series where they face off. In at 2, I've got the Milwaukee Bucks. As I was saying, they're going to be great along with Boston, but I just see Boston being more consistent because they've got a more deep and reliant on different players, unlike Milwaukee, who are more reliant on Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Damian Lillard, who can be stagnant in terms of injuries. In at 3, I've got the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're a great young team with Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. I see them being good in the regular season, but I don't think they're going to be consistent in the playoffs with these big teams like Boston, Milwaukee, and Miami being prominent as teams that have been through playoffs together. I just don't see Cleveland being consistent enough. I love them as a young team, but I just don't see them having the experience to withstand great teams like Boston and Milwaukee. In at 4, I've got the New York Knicks, finishing the same place they did last year. They've still got the great team centered around Brunson and Randall. I think they're going to be as good as they were last year, but they're still going to struggle when it comes to stronger teams in the playoffs. It's going to be a rematch, in my opinion, between them and Miami. I'd love to see how they get through. It's going to be a young team trying their best to go deep in the playoffs. I'd love to see how this plays out. In at 5, I've got the Miami Heat. I think they're going to be good this year. Like usual, I think a Jimmy Butler-led team isn't always going to be as good as they were in the playoffs in the regular season, but I still think they're going to be good. They've got Bam Adebayo. I think they struggled in the off-season, losing Strus and Gabe Vincent. I think they're going to be good in the regular season. I think they'll be able to snag the 5 seed, but I just don't think they're going to be as prominent in the playoffs as they were last year unless Jimmy Butler pulls another miracle. In at 6th, I've got the Indiana Pacers taking it out. Yeah, I think this team's going to be good. Tyrese Halliburton's a great point guard. Miles Turner's a great defensive center, and they've got the pieces around them. They've got Benedict Mathurin, Buddy Hield, and a great new rookie in Jarace Walker. I think they will be good this year in the regular season, but I think they will struggle in the playoffs against tough teams. I see them taking on Cleveland in the first round, and I just don't think they'll be able to get past them. I think this team's going to be good, and this is a great first step to Indiana regaining their consistent playoff spots. At the start of the play-in, I've got Philly. I see this team struggling. James Harden's not turning up to practice, and other than Joel Embiid, they're relying on Tyrese Maxey to score. Unless he wins Most Improved, I don't see them making the top 6. I think they'll struggle in the regular season without a secondary player to Joel Embiid. I think James Harden's going to create a lot of drama around this team that will make them struggle. I just think this team might crash and burn after the James Harden drama. He brings it wherever he goes, and I just think they want to get him off this team as soon as possible so they can have a full season where they just focus on them winning. For the 8th seed, I've got the Atlanta Hawks. I see there being a big gap between 7th and 8th. I think Philly's just a step above them, but I see Atlanta creeping into the top 8. They're a good scoring team. I just think they might struggle to stay consistent. Trae Young was relied upon way too much in the playoffs to score. I think they need another scoring option. 2 years with Jamal Murray, I think they might be better adapted to working with him. I would love to see how they adapted in Atlanta to win more games this year. In at 9, I've got the Orlando Magic. I think they're going to go for it this year. They've got so many pieces. They've got a great young core. They've got Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, a bunch of great players. I think they make the play-in this year. I think they're young, and I think they might struggle in the play-in. But yet again, this is a great stepping stone to a great dynasty with so many pieces around him. Paolo Banchero is looking amazing. So is Franz Wagner. I see them doing really well in the coming years. In at 10, I've got the Toronto Raptors. I see them being good this year, but I just don't see them being as consistent on the offensive side of the ball without Fred VanVleet. I like their team with OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes going into his 3rd year. I want to see if he can adapt and be more of a scoring threat than he did in his last 2 years. They've got Jakob Poeltl and a great bench in Gary Trent Jr. and Jaden McDaniels, but I just don't see the potency on offense. They haven't got enough of a punch, although I do like their move forward. They had a good off-season. I like their draft pick in Grady. But until they choose a direction, I see the Raptors sticking around this low play-in spot. In at 11, just missing out on the play-in spot, I've got the Brooklyn Nets. I like this team. They're young and they're upcoming, but I just don't see the scoring punch there. I don't think they have enough players experienced built around them to have a good season this year. I see them doing well in the upcoming years, but I think this season should just be a step back after the KD and Kyrie era, just to take a step back and adjust your team so you can be good in the upcoming years. In at the 12th seed, I've got the Chicago Bulls. I don't see them doing much this year. They don't have a direction. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan hasn't worked yet. I know they can work, but I just don't see them doing it this year. I think they've got to either rebuild or make a big move, and I don't see them making a big move. I think they might blow it up, but you just need to see if this team can work together. And they've been struggling for the last few years, and I don't see that changing without a massive change to the team. For the 13th seed, I've got the Detroit Pistons. They're a young and upcoming team, but I just don't see them being good this year. This is another year of rebuilding, getting players from the draft to build a good young core to start winning again in the next coming years. But I just don't see them being good for the next 1 or 2 years before they start going for it, coming back from the rebuild so they can be a good team again. In at 14, I've got the Washington Wizards. I like this team. I like the idea of Jordan Poole having his own team, but what can you do as the Washington Wizards? This is a throwaway year, starting your rebuild again. I like that they chose the direction, but Washington's going to be real boring for a few years. They're going to stock up some draft picks and go for it again, maybe in 5 years when they have a good young core. But for now, let's just watch Jordan Poole drop 25 points per game for no reason. For the last place, I've got the Charlotte Hornets. What's going on with this team? LaMelo's injured, Miles Bridges is arrested, nothing's going right for this team. I just don't see them doing anything this year. They've just got so many controversies, no good players that aren't arrested and in jail. LaMelo's injured, and they're getting sponsored by Mr. Beast and Feastables. I don't see them doing much this year. This is yet again another throwaway year. I don't know what this team is doing. They have no direction. They've got LaMelo Ball, a great point guard, doing nothing on a useless team. I would like to see something happen out at Charlotte, but I just don't see it happening this year. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. I hope you're as excited as I am for the upcoming NBA season, and have a nice day.